This is the chilling story of 14-year-old Emma Gervasi, a teenage girl whose sudden disappearance shook an entire community. One cold December evening in East Patchogue, New York, Emma stepped outside to grab something from a car parked in her driveway. Moments later, she was gone. No shoes, no jacket, just an empty driveway and no sign of where she could have gone. Her father, Frank Gervasi, was frantic. Just minutes before, they had been talking about dinner plans. Emma had no reason to leave. The most terrifying part, Emma was wearing an ankle monitor due to past struggles with substance use. But it was gone, ripped off by the person who took her. Days turned into weeks with no word, and Frank's worst fears started to consume him. Had she run away? Or had something much darker happened? Surveillance footage later revealed Emma knocking on motel doors in the dead of night, but by the time authorities arrived, she was nowhere to be found. Then, after 26 long days of searching, an anonymous tip led Frank to a marina 13 miles from home. Could this be the break he had been waiting for? What Frank discovered next would turn this whole case upside down and reveal an even more disturbing truth.
Making this video for Emma. If you can hear us, we love you, and you need to come home. Daddy misses you and loves you so much, and I think about you every minute of my life. I'm never gonna stop looking for you, okay? And if you can come home, please do. If you have my daughter, please let her go. If you don't, you're gonna pay the consequences, I promise you that.
As the days passed with no sign of Emma, Frank Gervasi's desperation turned into determination. Christmas holidays came and went, but there was no celebration for the Gervasi family. Instead, Frank spent every waking moment searching. He posted daily updates on social media, asking for the public's help. He flooded the area with flyers, trying to keep his daughter's face in the public eye. But despite all his efforts, the silence continued. Frank wasn't alone in his search. The community rallied behind him, and a GoFundMe page raised thousands of dollars to hire a private investigator. Frank also offered a $15,000 reward for information that could lead to Emma's safe return. But despite these efforts, weeks went by with no solid leads. Frank's mind raced with every possibility. Was Emma hiding? Had she been taken by someone she knew? Or worse, was she being held against her will? His heartbreak deepened with each passing day, but he refused to give up. Then, on January 3rd, after 27 days of uncertainty, the phone rang. An anonymous tip came through, and this time, Frank had a reason to believe it could be the lead he was waiting for. After nearly a month of searching, Frank's persistence finally paid off when he received a tip that seemed too incredible to believe. An anonymous caller claimed to know where Emma was, on a boat in Islip Marina, about 13 miles from their home. The caller knew details about Emma that made Frank's heart race. Emma's tattoos, something only her family would recognize, were mentioned in the tip. Frank was filled with a mix of hope and skepticism. Could this be real? Or was it another false lead? But he couldn't ignore the possibility that this was the breakthrough he'd been praying for. Without hesitation, Frank rushed to Islip, determined to find his daughter. The tipster remained on the phone with him, offering vague instructions on where to find the boat.
The phone call that I received was that she was on a boat in Islip. I didn't want to believe at the time. I did follow that up on my own. I drove down there. The lady who gave me the tip was afraid to go in the boat, believed to be with some dangerous people, etc. I still wasn't sure if it was a legit lead or not.
As Frank made his way to the marina, he knew the stakes were high. Could he find Emma in time? What would he encounter when he arrived? Minutes felt like hours, but Frank's determination carried him forward. Little did he know, this was the moment that would change everything. His daughter's rescue was just around the corner. As Frank arrived at Islip Marina, his heart raced. He was close, but the fear of what he might find kept him on edge. The tipster had warned him that the boat was dangerous, and Frank knew he was entering a risky situation. But he wasn't going to wait for law enforcement. This was his daughter, and he wasn't going to let her slip away again. With the police minutes behind him, Frank spotted the boat and, without a second thought, rushed toward it. He wasn't sure what he'd face once inside. Would there be a confrontation? Was Emma still there? His mind raced with possibilities, but he pressed on, knowing that this could be the only chance to find her. Breaking through the door, Frank entered the boat. Inside, it was quiet. The curtains were drawn, and Frank couldn't see clearly at first. Then, out of the shadows, he saw her. Emma was standing there, her eyes wide with disbelief, a mix of relief and shock in her voice. The emotional moment was overwhelming. Frank could hardly contain his joy, but he knew he needed to remain focused.
I did bust into the boat and recover my daughter. I did clear the boat. There was nobody else on the boat at the time when I got there. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know who was inside at the time if the curtains were drawn on the boat.
He quickly checked the rest of the boat to ensure no one else was there. Once he realized the boat was empty, he held Emma close, not wanting to let her go. He was terrified that this moment of safety could be short-lived, but for now, his daughter was safe. The police arrived soon after, and the relief was palpable. Emma, though clearly shaken, was alive. Frank's instincts and determination had led to her rescue, but the journey was far from over. What had happened to Emma during those 26 days? And who was responsible for taking her?
Today is day 27, and I proudly am very happy to tell you guys that Emma Ray was found yesterday. That being said, she's safe and alive, and I believe it was persistency that helped bring her home.
If you're finding this story captivating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more gripping true crime content. Your support means a lot. Thank you. After Emma's rescue, the relief that filled Frank's heart was tempered by the reality of what his daughter had been through. Though she was physically safe, the emotional and psychological scars were only beginning to show. Emma was taken to the hospital, where she was evaluated for any physical injuries and signs of abuse. Frank, still processing the shock of finding her alive, knew that the road to recovery for both of them was just starting. But the questions didn't stop there. What had happened during the 26 days Emma was missing? Who was behind her abduction? And how had she ended up in that marina? The investigation began to unfold quickly. Authorities identified the man who had been arrested in connection to Emma's kidnapping, 64-year-old Francis Buckheit. He had been living on a boat in the same marina where Emma was found, and he was charged with kidnapping, child endangerment, and other serious offenses. Buckheit, however, pleaded not guilty to all charges, and the investigation revealed that he wasn't the only one involved in the operation. Frank had long suspected that Emma wasn't alone in her captivity. In interviews, he spoke openly about his belief that there were multiple people involved in the abduction. Emma, after all, had been told that if she tried to leave the boat, there would be consequences. There were whispers of another boat at the marina, a lookout vessel that had kept watch over Emma's location.
There were multiple people involved. Yes, I found my daughter. She was alone at the time. However, there was a lookout boat at the other end of the property that she was told if she left, bad things would happen to her.
Frank believed that others were involved and that this was a more complex situation than just a single perpetrator. The authorities continued to dig deeper, connecting the dots and unraveling the details of Emma's time in captivity. As they examined the circumstances surrounding her abduction, they found chilling evidence of online connections that had lured Emma out of her home in the first place. Frank, while still grateful for his daughter's return, couldn't shake the nagging questions. How had Emma been targeted in the first place? What had she gone through in the time she was missing? And perhaps most troubling of all, how many other children might be at risk in similar circumstances? Emma's rescue was just the beginning of her long road to recovery. While Frank could breathe a sigh of relief knowing his daughter was safe, the journey ahead was filled with challenges. As a father, nothing could have prepared him for the emotional toll it took to see his daughter in such a fragile state. After being evaluated at the hospital, Emma was placed in a treatment facility where she began receiving the care she desperately needed. Her recovery wasn't just physical, it was emotional and psychological. The trauma she had experienced during those 26 days left scars that would take time to heal. Frank knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, and he was determined to support his daughter every step of the way. Although Emma's exact experience during her captivity was still unclear at the time, Frank made it clear that he wasn't going to push her for details. "I just want to be with her, let her heal," he said. As much as he wanted answers, he understood that pushing Emma too hard could be counterproductive. The healing process was delicate, and Emma needed space to recover at her own pace. Frank stayed by her side, offering her reassurance and comfort as she navigated the difficult process of recovery. The aftercare was a crucial part of Emma's journey. Frank made sure she was in a facility where she could receive proper therapy and emotional support. He had learned that the effects of such a traumatic experience were far-reaching, and that a safe, nurturing environment was necessary for Emma to rebuild her life. As Frank continued to focus on his daughter's recovery, he knew that the road ahead would be long. But with time, Emma began to show signs of improvement. She wasn't alone anymore. She had her father, and together, they would face whatever came next. If you're still with us, make sure to like and subscribe to keep up with more shocking true crime stories. Your support helps us bring these stories to light. Don't miss out on what's next. Emma's case is a tragic reminder of the growing issue of human trafficking, especially among vulnerable youth. Though her story has a somewhat positive resolution, thanks to the tireless efforts of her father and the help of the community, many others are not so lucky. Human trafficking is an ever-present silent epidemic that affects thousands of children and adults every year, often going unnoticed until it's too late. Frank's story has brought attention to the horrifying realities of trafficking, but it also underscores the importance of community involvement. Without the tip that led Frank to the marina, the outcome could have been much different. Emma might have never been found. This is why Frank has become such a passionate advocate for raising awareness about the dangers of online interactions, particularly with strangers. In his interviews, Frank was clear. Parents need to be vigilant. We live in a world where kids can be easily manipulated, and the internet makes it all the more dangerous. I never thought this would happen to my daughter, but it did, and it can happen to anyone. Emma's online interaction with a stranger, someone who lured her away from home, is a stark reminder of the dangers that lie in the virtual world. Frank urges parents to have open conversations with their children about the risks and to monitor their online activity more closely. Emma's experience also shines a light on the role of law enforcement in dealing with these cases. Though the police worked tirelessly to locate Emma, it was Frank's persistence that led to her rescue. This highlights the necessity of strong community partnerships and support systems in these investigations. Sometimes it takes more than just law enforcement. It takes a community that is willing to help, offer tips, and provide resources for families in need. The broader implications of this case are clear. Human trafficking is a pervasive issue that affects more people than we realize. The statistics are staggering. According to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, thousands of children are trafficked each year in the United States alone, and many cases go undetected until it's too late. This case serves as a wake-up call, urging everyone to be more vigilant and proactive in the fight against trafficking.
The joy that comes over you when you find your child is a feeling that only a parent that has gone through this would understand. Like, God gave me a gift yesterday, and I was starting to lose hope. Actually, I woke up yesterday, I wanted to give up. I wanted to die. I just didn't know where my little girl was. And so I appreciate all the support from everybody, and having her safe in my arms was just the most amazing feeling in the world.
Thank you for joining us in uncovering the chilling details of this case. If this story has left you disturbed or reflective, please share your thoughts and reflections. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay with us as we continue to explore the stories that reveal the darkest sides of human behavior. Together, we keep these lessons alive, ensuring the voices of victims are never forgotten. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe or follow.